Yeah, well, you see, I don't love our enemies, and I don't love people who do love them. I hate our enemies, and I think they should be killed. And I think that they want to kill me. And I think we could do it probably with half the budget, or maybe twice, but I'm absolutely sure that there should be no country that has a budget that could threaten ours. And I'm not sentimental about the point. I wanted to have another whack at that very question now.
So the people that preach God and love should shut up and remain private, but killers ought to just go and just kill people that they call their enemies. That's very ethical. And
the people who preach Allahu Akbar, the people who preach Allahu Akbar had better find out that there's a stronger force than them, and one that also has unalterable convictions and principles, and that can also be offended, and that they're offended at their peril. That's what I think. Now, to the last question, I just want to have one more run at it.
You already answered.
I know, but if you don't mind.
You tried twice.
When I started hurling myself around like a shout and holler person.
I understand.
That was because
there's no right or wrong with you, so go ahead. Answer 3 times.
The questions that they come and ask these chaplains are, why? Why does it happen that the nicest guy in my unit just took a round through the throat, you know? That I've just been at this village where all the children have been killed, and where you can fill in this for yourself. Why? That's what the question, isn't it? Well, have you ever heard any spokesman of any religion give an answer to that question? They've had thousands of years to think about it. No, they haven't come up with a question at all. Unless to say, as they used to when it was a plague or a war or a tsunami, well, it's probably a sign of sin. You've been punished. The Archbishop of Canterbury in England 2 years ago says he really worries how God could be so mean as to unleash a tidal wave towards Christmas time in Asia. You can't believe you're listening to this stuff. Now, if you ask me, okay, I'll say, why did this happen? Why did the best guy I know get cancer of the throat or get mugged or slaughtered or whatever it was? I'll say, because we belong to an imperfectly evolved species where the adrenaline glands are too big, the prefrontal lobes are too small, and we bear every sign of the stamp of our lowly origin. And only by realizing the fact that we are mammals are we likely to be able to talk any sense about it. And if you say, well, why did that city fall down or be overcome by waves, or that volcano kill all those children, I say, well, hate to break it to you, but we live on a cooling planet whose crust hasn't quite settled yet, and these are to be expected. And there is no other explanation for them, and don't believe anyone who says there is. Well, this is not perhaps perfect ethical instruction, but it does conform to the Hippocratic injunction, primo non nocere. At least I'm not lying to these people. At least what I say can do them no harm, and at least it cannot increase the illusions they already have. And usually when you go to that village and ask, why have the children been killed? It's because someone who believed in God thought that they had it coming.
Next.
Hi, thank you. I'll be brief. The question of where to find morality, with or without God, is one which I think is certainly too large for either side of this debate to resolve within the space of a few hours. You can't hear me? However, I think Mr. Hitchens has made a start at least offering a possibility of how we might find morality.
I'm sorry, just get to a question. We have a lot of people waiting.
Okay, I'm sorry. Reverend Sharpton has resisted Mr. Hitchens' attacks on the institutions that relate or claim to relate God's will, but expresses doubt as to how we can have morality without God. So I'm wondering if criteria such as personal experience are all we have without the legislature of shared religious texts, how are we to move on from moral solipsism and actually find morality?
I think that it is Mr. Hitchens that says that we found morality in ourselves, that we know morality. I would argue that the reason you can find it within yourselves is because of a sense of God and a pattern in human character that was there. There's no scientific evidence offered by non-believers as why this morality would be there, other than it just evolved somewhere that we would have this sense of morality. I don't think that it has to be governed by organized religion. That's all.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say I'm writing a book, and it's called An Atheist Defends Religion, Why Religion Succeeds and Atheism Fails. So I am an atheist, but I defend religion. And my...
Really splitting the difference here, huh?
Yeah.
I know. I just lost it. I'm sorry. Well, my question is to Christopher is how you can justify wanting to take something away from people, from 95 that gives meaning to 95% of the American people, and replace it with something that gives meaning to just 5% of the American people.
Well, what an incredibly stupid question. First, I've said repeatedly that this stuff cannot be taken away from people. It is their favorite toy, and it will remain so as Freud said in The Future of an Illusion, it will remain that way as long as we're afraid of death and have no problem, which is, I think, likely to be quite a long time. Second, I hope I've made it clear that I'm perfectly happy for people to have these toys and to play with them at home and hug them to themselves and so on and share them with other people who come around and play with the toys. So that's absolutely fine. They are not to make me play with these toys. Okay? I will not play with the toys. Don't bring the toys to my house. Don't say my children must play with these toys. Don't say my toys might be a condom. Here we go again. Are not allowed by their toys. I'm not going to have any of that. Enough with clerical and religious bullying and intimidation. Is that finally clear? Have I got that across? Thank you.
Next, quick question.
Yes, Mr. Sharpton. If morality comes from whatever God tells people to do or whatever God says is right and wrong, rather than the objective requirements of human life, then how is God any different than Stalin?
But I never said that. I think Mr. Hitchens said that God tells these people this. I said that God, if there is no supreme being that sets a framework for the world that has a framework of right and wrong, then what do we base it on? Do I think God calls the leaders of the church every morning and tells them what's right and wrong after they read the New York Times? No. I think that there is a framework based on what is right and wrong in humanity by the force that created humanity. And that is not God sending you an email every day or a revelation on a mountain. I did not say that. I think that was his concept of what had happened to some that had professed that. So I can't defend what I didn't say.
I am of one mind with the Reverend in saying that there has been no divine revelation. There could not be such a thing. But I'm a little disappointed in you.
I know you are.
Just a fraction disappointed.
I know you are.
But you can live with it.
I can see I'll try.
You're man enough. You're man enough.
I'll try.
If this is a follow-up, I guess, to the last question, but if you need God or religion or spirituality, whatever, to have morality, then how do you explain the high crime rate in the U.S., which is the most religious industrial country in the world, versus Japan and Sweden and other countries that are almost entirely secular?
Well, I think you confuse two things in your question. There, first of all, is a distinct difference between spiritual and religious. You kind of intermingled the two. And I think that those that commit crimes, and I hate to disagree with Mr. Hitchens, are not all believers in God. I mean, to say that question is logical is to say that every criminal is a God-fearing person that commits crime. I have a feeling, I certainly don't have the data at my disposal as my good friend Brother Hitchens, but I would suspect atheists commit crimes too.
I can absolutely vouch for that.
We're of one mind. We're coming together.
We are of one mind. I mean, look, I know. I just said the question was supposed to be helpful to my side, but I don't find it so. For two reasons. One, it's too approximate. I mean, just as you hear people say something I think is very fatuous, there are no atheists in foxholes. You've heard it. There are very few atheists on death row either, but I wouldn't make that a case for my side. It's just not the way I argue. I do notice that Christians or other believers tend to say,